Yo, what is up, guys? It is Nick with the Notorious Fantasy back in today with another fantasy football video. Today's video is Week 7 tight end start or sit decision. So I go through every single matchup this week in the NFL and talk about every single tight end on all these teams and tell you whether you should start them or sit them. Now, before I get in the video, I'd like to give you guys a word from my sponsor, OverlayDFS.com. Are you tired of having to pick the perfect player at every single position in order to win salary cap DFS? Are you tired of having your salary cap lineup out of the running to win the money in the first 5 minutes of the games? Does playing salary DFS feel like a job and not even a game? Well, I have the solution for you guys right here. OverlayDFS.com has a new revolutionary start sit game for fantasy sports. They're home of the single entry GPP, and it's so simple, guys. I plan this every single week. All you got to do is you look at the matchups on your screen here. There's a bunch of them, and you just pick which players. You're going to have to pick 12 players as well as 3 alternates. Who do you think is going to do better than another person? So, do you think Daniel Jones is going to be better than Teddy Bridgewater? It is that simple, guys. That is literally all you have to do. And there's pretty much entries at every single level. This is the $2.50 one. There's $22 ones. There's even $100 ones if you are rolling in the big bucks like that. See, if you go 12 and 0 in this, 12 and 0 record gets you $2,972. So you're making way more money than the $2.50 you put in. And if you finish in the top 10% of people, you get $18, and it goes up obviously depending on which type of game you're playing in based upon how much you put into the game. So it's very simple. I plan it pretty much every single week. So say in week 4, if you were playing in the 12, if you went 12 and 0 in the $109 game, you'll win a progressive bonus of over $26,000. The object is pretty much just to stay consistent, and you get, if you finish in the top 10% of the field, you win 9 times your buy-in until you get that beautiful 12 and 0 and win that huge progressive bonus. So make sure that you guys check this out. It's super easy. I planned it every single week. I've been doing pretty good, but I think you guys may honestly be smarter than me and may be able to do better. So come play with me. Come check it out. OverlayDFS.com. Check it out. Link below down in the description. And we are back. Week 7 tight end start or sit decisions. Let's get right into it. Make sure you guys check out overlaydfs.com down below. Now, the first game here is the Raiders at the Green Bay Packers, and I'm going to be starting both tight ends in this matchup. Darren Waller for the Raiders is in every single week potential top 5 play. Darren Waller is a guy that is playing on pretty much 100% of the snaps in Derek Carr's offense. I think that Darren Waller is going to be heavily involved this week against the Packers. We saw last week TJ Hawkinson, TJ Hawkin God, as I like to call him, had a phenomenal game after coming off that injury, played pretty well. I think Darren Waller will play pretty well this week as well against that same Packers defense. I'm also going to be starting up Jimmy Graham in this game. Now, he's not the Jimmy Graham from the New Orleans Saints of years past, but he still has that skill. He may be older, but he's still a guy that if he ends up hopping in the end zone, if he ends up catching the ball 3, 4, 5 times, can get stuff done with that. And I think that he's definitely warrants a start this week, especially with a lot of teams on bye. Next game here is the Rams at the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to be starting up Gerald Everett in this matchup for the Rams. Now, the Falcons defense has looked atrocious, so I think that Gerald Everett is going to have the opportunity this week to have a monster game this week going up against the Falcons. Now, the Falcons can't really stop anyone, whether you're a receiver, a running back, or a tight end, so I think Gerald Everett's in for a pretty solid matchup this week. On the other hand, Austin Hooper also is in for a good matchup this week. Last week, we saw George Kittle have a bit of a feast against the Rams. I think that Austin Hooper is in for a pretty good game as well. Matt Ryan clearly likes targeting him. I think this is going to end up being a pretty high-scoring game. Now, if Jalen Ramsey plays, some people are saying, Nick, you fucking idiot. Jalen Ramsey is obviously going to play. Obviously, that's not what they said, but they say stuff like that. They're saying Jalen Ramsey's going to play, and if Jalen Ramsey plays, it doesn't even matter for Austin Hooper, but Julio Jones may get his ass locked down. Next game here is the 49ers at the Washington Redskins. And I'm going to be starting up George Kittle in this matchup. George Kittle's obviously a guy you drafted highly. You drafted him early. You may have traded for him. You may have bought low on George Kittle. And now you are going to hit the moon because the Redskins defense is atrocious. Knock one time if you're with me. George Kittle is going to have a phenomenal game this week against the Redskins. And I'm going to be sitting down Vernon Davis in this matchup. Now, a lot of people at the beginning of the season, Vernon Davis was a guy, a pretty hot pickup, a guy you could play when Jordan Reed is banged up. Jordan Reed's always banged up. He's always hurt. His head is in another world because he's always fucking hurt. And I think Vernon Davis was a guy that you could have started. But now, not this week against the 49ers. Not this week against a strong 49ers defense. Next game here is the Texans at the Indianapolis Colts. Now, I'm going to be starting up Eric Ebron and Jack Doyle in this matchup for the Indianapolis Colts. Now, they both have "ehs" next to them. And pretty much what an means is they have like top 14 guys, top 15 guys. And you're also really depending on the touchdown in this matchup. Will it be Eric Ebron who crosses that plane into fantasy amazingness, into fantasy freedom? I don't even know what you want to call it, but one of them is going to touch that fucking end zone. One of them is going to touch those numbers and score an amazing touchdown for you. And the other one is going to end up disappointing. Which one is it? Roll the goddamn dice. Who knows? In my opinion, I'd much rather start Eric Ebron than Jack Doyle, but personally, I think they both could be in for a big game this week against the Texans. The Texans defense has not looked all that strong in the past couple of weeks, especially against the tight end. I'm going to be sitting down Jordan Atkins and Darren Fells in this game. Now, if you are in a super duper pickle, I think I would go with Darren Fells. I trust him slightly more, but Jordan Atkins, Darren Fells, don't really trust either of them this week. Next game here is the Vikings at the Detroit Lions. And the Lions got absolutely skull fucked by the referees last week. The Green Bay refs absolutely fucked them. They did the Lambeau leap. If you guys saw that picture on Twitter, it was pretty beautiful. But this week, I think TJ Hawkinson is in for a pretty good matchup again against the Vikings. TJ Hawkinson has returned from his injury. He has returned from being dead on the field a couple of games ago against the Cardinals, I believe that was, and now he has arisen. The TJ Hawkins God has arisen, and this is his week to shine against the Minnesota Vikings. And a lot of people, he may even be available on your waiver wire. He's a sneaky pickup. He's going to be a great start this week against the Vikings. I'm going to be sitting down Kyle Rudolph, though. Kyle Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, has not been performing. Not Kyle, I should say. Oh my God, Kirk, his name is Kirk Cousins, has not been able to find Kyle Rudolph in the red zone, in any type of zone, because Kirk Cousins, the only zone he's in is just throwing the ball to Adam Thielen or Stephon Diggs 9,000 times. He doesn't worry about Kyle Rudolph at all, so don't be starting Mr. Kyle Rudolph. Leave him on your bench, or just cut his ass, because you don't need him anyways. In the Jaguars at Bengals game, I'm going to be sitting both tight ends. Mr. James O'Shaughnessy has been taken out. He's hurt, probably out for the season. Jeff Swaim comes in, and he's just okay. I mean, he's not a guy you want to even be starting. The Bengals defense is so terrible, but Gardner Minshew doesn't really look Jeff Swaim's way. So I'm pretty confident in a lot of these other Jaguars players, but definitely not Jeff Swaim. And I'm going to be sitting down Tyler Eifert. Now, Tyler Eifert and his teammate, the other tight end, whose name is escaping me at the current moment, they're just splitting all these targets, making it a fantasy hellhole, a fantasy tight end black hole. It's TJ Uzma is the other tight end. His name just came straight into my brain right there. But Tyler Eifert is not a guy you're going to want to be starting this week, and neither is Jeff Swaim. Next game here is the Cardinals at the Giants. A game that I believe could be a high scoring matchup here, but I don't really love the Arizona tight ends. The Arizona tight ends, there's just a bunch of them. You don't know which one is going to be. It's a goddamn fucking carousel of tight ends, and you don't want to hop on it because the carousel may involve death. But you want to know who you're going to start this week? Evan Ingram. I've seen people, some experts say, oh, Evan Ingram is the number one tight end this week. Will he be the number one tight end in my video? Who knows? Click that subscribe button to check it out. But what I do know is the Cardinals defense sucks against the quarterback, the running back, the wide receiver, the tight end, the coach, the water boy. All of them are going to absolutely eat against the Cardinals, and Evan Ingram is no exception to that. Mr. Daniel Dimes looked pretty good last week. I think DJ is going to throw the ball straight to Evan Ingram about 2,000 times, and Evan Ingram is going to have a monster game and eat a goddamn W for your fantasy team. I love Evan Ingram this week in fantasy football. Next game here is the Dolphins at the Buffalo Bills. And as you know, this may be the shittiest matchup ever because the Dolphins are going to get their ass bent over and skull fucked into pieces, into death. And hopefully we can lose this game as a Dolphins fan. I'm trying to lose this game. I don't want to beat the fucking Bills. But I want to be starting Dawson Knox one time if you're with me. Dawson Knox has been one of Josh Allen's favorite targets. Josh Allen seems to target that tight end. It used to be that old motherfucker, Charles Clay, or whatever his name was, something Clay, that old fuck on the Bills. Now it's Dawson Knox one time if you're with me. He's a young man, a stout young man who's going to have a monster game against the Dolphins this week. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in the top 12 because of how beautiful this matchup is, how beautiful the stars are going to align, just like they're going to align on Overlay DFS when you go 12-0. Obviously, that was a plug right there. Check it out in the description. But no more of that in this video. But you're going to be seeing down Michael Gesicki. Mike Gesicki has been a guy that Josh Rosen likes to target. But you know what? It's not Josh Rosen in this game. It's Ryan Fitzmagic. And there's no magic going the tight end's way in this game. So I'm going to be sitting down Mike Gesicki. Next game here is the Chargers at the Tennessee Titans. I'm starting both tight ends in this heavyweight bout. Hunter Henry should be in for a pretty good game. Last week, he dropped 30 points straight into my mouth. He straight fucked me right in the ass with no lubricant. It was unreal. Hunter Henry came out of nowhere, came and played in the game, and came inside of me. It was unreal. Hunter Henry, Hunter Henry played amazing. And I think that Hunter Henry's in for a pretty good matchup again this week. Now, the Titans have a better defense than the defense they faced last week in the Steelers, but I still think Hunter Henry and Phillip Rivers have that great connection. Phillip Rivers loves that tight end, whether it's Hunter Henry or it's Antonio Gates. I think Hunter Henry's in for a good game. Now, Delaney Walker, on the other hand, he's an old fucking man. But you know what about Delaney Walker I like about Delaney Walker is the fact that Ryan Tannehill is just going to throw the ball to him about 10,000 times. Tannehill or Mariota. Either way, I think Delaney Walker is pretty safe. Now, I am slightly worried about the fact that it's Ryan Tannehill, but I'm still starting my main man, Delaney Walker, probably a top 12 tight end on the week. Next game here is the Ravens at the Seattle Seahawks, and there's an obvious start in this one, and that is Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews has been a start every single week because you know what Mark Andrews does? He scores fantasy points, he scores real-life touchdowns, and he plays great. Last week, he hurdled and fumbled the ball, but we forgive him for that. The hurdle looked beautiful anyways, but you want to know what's going to look even more beautiful? Mark Ingram's stat line in this game against the Seahawks. The Seahawks, who have been okay against the tight end, but you want to know who's not just an okay tight end? Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is great. Lamar Jackson loves throwing the ball his way. I love Mark Andrews in this game. And what are we seeing down Luke Wilson in this game? I'll just sit him down. Sit down all these Seattle tight ends. There's probably another few there, but you don't want to start them. And rest in peace, honorary rest in peace to Will Dissly. A great man. A great honor for you to have served in my fantasy football team. I love you, Will Dissly. I'm sorry that it had to go down this way. But rest in peace to Will Dissly. Obviously not actually dead, but dead for fantasy football this season. I hope you come back for next year. Next game here is the Saints at the Chicago Bears. I'm going to be starting Jared Cook, but Jared Cook also has the because while Jared Cook has been involved the last couple of weeks with Teddy Bridgewater, I'm kind of nervous against the Bears. And by kind of, I mean very nervous against the Bears. The Bears defense has been great against all positions. Obviously, we saw last week or 2 weeks ago when they played in London, we saw Mr. Darren Waller play okay against the Bears, so I'm kind of nervous about Jared Cook, but I know you're probably in a tight situation if you're starting Jared Cook, and if he finds that end zone, he will definitely be start worthy. I'm going to be sitting down Trey Burton. Now, Trey Burton was a late round draft pick. He's a guy in fantasy football. He's a guy that people are picking up off the waiver wire, and don't be picking up Trey Burton unless you're in a 20-team league. You don't want anything to do with Trey Burton, Chase Daniel, Kissing Titty Trubisky. It doesn't matter. Trey Burton is not going to get the work that we thought he would. And the final game here, nope, not the final game here. We got another game here. Eagles at the Cowboys. This is the Sunday night game, I believe. I'm going to be starting both tight ends in this matchup. Zach Ertz, obviously, a guy you drafted super highly, a guy that should have a pretty good game against the Cowboys this week. Carson Wentz really does love targeting him. Deshaun Jackson should be out this game against the Cowboys, so I'm pretty sure that Zach Ertz is going to get a lot of usage along with Alshon Jeffrey. And I'm also going to be starting Jason Witten in this matchup now. Jason Witten is an old man. He may walk at 3 miles an hour, or run at 3 miles an hour, I should say, but he's still going to find that end zone. Dak Prescott loves the safety net of Jason Witten. So I think Jason Witten's going to be a fine start this week, especially against the Eagles defense. And the final game here, the Monday Night Special, a game that no one wants to watch. The Patriots at the New York Football Jets. I'm going to be sitting all the tight ends in this game. Chris Herndon, is he in? Is he out? Who gives a fuck? He's going to be out of the game pretty much because the Patriots defense is going to lock him down. Ryan Izzo, Ben Watson, people are going to get cute. People got cute last week, started Ryan Izzo. You know what happened? He scored you 3 points. You know what's going to happen if you start all these tight ends? They're going to score you 3 points. Don't do anything with these tight ends. Wait to see if Ben Watson is good. Wait to see if Ben Watson emerges. Wait to see if it's Ryan Izzo. And then you're good. Then maybe you can start one of them in a couple of weeks. But right now, I'm all locked down on these Patriots tight ends. So thank you guys all for watching this video. I love each and every single one of you motherfuckers that clicks on and watches every single video. It really does mean a lot to me. If you're new to the channel, please make sure to click that subscribe button. Make sure to go down below. After you click that subscribe button, check out overlaydfs.com. I love those guys over there. They mean a lot to me. They really help me release all these videos. So shout out to them. Shout out to you guys for watching every video. Like I said, I do love you all. Have a great rest of your Friday, and I'll see you guys later with some more videos. Goodbye.